So good afternoon, everybody. It's 2 o'clock, so we should get started. And it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce Sandy Sherizen, who really probably doesn't need any introduction. But Sandy and Bonnie have been here for several months, is that correct? And Sandy did his degree in sociology with a special emphasis on criminology, which I guess that is probably unusual at Newbridge, but anyway, we're enriched by that. Anyway, so Sandy taught at several universities and did consulting work and was the president of their shul, and he flunked retirement. Those are his words, not mine. And then did a lot of teaching of senior people at Brandeis and various other institutions. And today he's going to tell us about how we're all being manipulated. So Sandy, it's all yours.
So thank you. I'm amazed at how many manipulators there are in this organization. It's just so many people have stopped me in the last week or so and said good luck. And it makes me wonder, what do they know about me that they have to wish me such luck? To clarify, this is not a how-to kind of a class, nor am I talking about spinal manipulation. Just, I want to be absolutely clear. We're going to have an interesting time. I'm fascinated with the whole topic of manipulation. Why? I don't know. I don't see myself as a manipulator. Right, Bonnie? But one never knows. I've taught this course before a number of times, and there's so much. There's a richness to it. And I will be giving a number of examples. I'm going to keep away from some of the political ones in particular, but there are things to be said about that as well. So I'd like to start with one moment of silence for those poor people in Ukraine. Thank you. Would you please mute your phones? Appreciate that. And also, if anyone has questions or comments at any point during the presentation, please feel free. I have some questions for you. Yep. This is what leadership is about. There's somebody else who wrote something. It said, I am not a manipulator. I like to think of myself more as an outcome engineer. I just love that. So Eisenhower said this, and it directly relates to what we're talking about. Have you ever been manipulated? Anyone want to give an example? Take his name. Anyone else? Anyone want to talk about this? I'm hearing somebody saying, but I can't.
My husband telling me I don't want to do something that I do want to do.
There you go.
Most of us have
Really? Those poor innocent little kids? Yeah. Anyone else? Oh, repeat. So, I'm sorry, if they say it again? I will.
Most of us have children, and we've been manipulated by them, but other people say
Right.
we have manipulated them and they've manipulated us.
Kids. We have manipulated them, they've manipulated us. And by the way, our dog also manipulates us all the time to say, give me another cookie. So it's just not just human beings who are involved. Anyone else who you might have manipulated? Yes.
Why do we all feel as if we've been manipulated, but we can't? Why do we all feel as if we've been manipulated? I'll bet the whole room does, but I can't come up with one concrete example just now.
So why do we feel we've all been manipulated? Yes, please. I'm going to come to that in a moment. How would I define manipulation? And Nancy is going to be getting her exercise by going back and forth, which is fine.
And chairs.
You want to?
Thinking you like certain kinds of food.
Thinking
All
about
ads.
foods. About foods, okay. Somebody else?
Advertisements.
I'm sorry?
Advertisements.
Advertisements.
Anybody else?
Well, so, let me go back here. Spouse, child, boss, poker. But I want to talk about a child for a second. There was an article recently that talked about the 10 greatest ways of manipulating your kids to quiet them, basically. And one was, how do you get them to eat certain foods or not eat certain foods? And I love it. The author said, I have a friend tell her kids that a saltine cracker is called a cookie. So anytime she's around a relative and they offer her a cookie, she politely declines. Wonderful. Let's look at this, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. Manipulation is only one of a number of ways of behavior being affected. And certainly coercion is one we well know. Influence, we know influencers now. Manipulation, and then persuasion. The definition of manipulation, and with all of these, is dependent upon intent. What is the intent of the manipulator on the manipulatees? I've seen various definitions, but basically getting somebody to do what Ike said, getting somebody to do what they think they're doing on their own, but in reality, it's helping us. And so the who gains is certainly a relevant question there. Did I somewhat approach it? There's a lot of material on it in social psychology, psychiatry, et cetera, but I find very little, it's really not been addressed as much. And so your question, Linda, we know we've been manipulated, but how come we can't give an answer? An example. The fact is that it's so omnipresent, and it's become invisible. And so we really are being manipulated all the time, and in so many ways, and it's getting to be more and more sophisticated. I'll get into some of the examples here, but we now, on purpose, are not aware of how we're being manipulated many of the times, because the advertisers don't want us to know, the politicians don't want us to know, and so on and so on and so on. So I will get into some of the specifics. Anyone looking for questions, comments, confessions? No, okay. Here, I don't know, can you all see it in the back? I see a lot of people saying, oh yeah, I understand that. Yes. Sorry, free shipping. Why don't you wait 1 second, Sherry, she's coming.
Thank you. I don't have music. So this reminds me also of free shipping. You know, you buy items for $68, but if you buy, 12 more, you can get free shipping. And so you end up buying more just because you want free shipping when the shipping might have only been 6.
Perfect.
Right?
And also, by the way, with Prime, with Amazon, obviously their profits have gone up enormously. And then when I remember when it first started, I said, oh, we don't know if this is a good move or not. Brilliant in many ways. Somebody else. Yes, please. Hi. Carol.
Hi. Actually, I was going to mention Prime because I just read recently that every time they raise their price, which they have just done, they get more business because people feel as though they need to make their money's worth out of having the higher subscription price.
Isn't that something? Yeah. And by the way, a form of manipulation, very direct, is how people working for them, particularly delivery people, what they're constantly being monitored and evaluated. Years ago, I did a project looking at worker monitoring, and it was omnipresent all over the place. And I interviewed somebody who was an operator, basically a directory assistant. And I was talking to her, and she was saying, everything I do is measured. It's measured in terms of what did I do last month? What did others in my crew do? Do I keep on the phone too long, et cetera? And she said there are really limits to how long I can stay on the phone, and I'm aware I'm being watched. It's manipulation is very direct. And she told me an example. She once got a call from somebody who said, I'm going to commit suicide. And what she said to me is, I had a moment of hesitation because I thought, oh no, there goes my score. But she talked to the person. But this is a manipulation of a very direct sort. Anyone else? Okay.
There's one.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yes, Joyce.
I realized last night that Land's End changes their prices based on their inventory, and I was wanting to purchase something. I wear a petite, and the price was very high, and I checked to see if they had it in size misses, and the price was 50% reduced. So I called and demanded a match.
Good. We don't know some of the things like that are behind the scenes. So when you are going and making an airline reservation, if you have not done certain things with your computer around cookies, etc., they have a record of what you've looked at, how much the prices were, actually literally how long you looked at a screen, and then they base it on that. So I always say to people, go on anonymously or go into a library. Do it so they can't get your record of what you've done, and you'll get a better price oftentimes. Don't mention my name, by the way. What we have is a fascinating phenomena called manipulation. And as I've indicated, it's omnipresent. So some examples are political candidates. And in teaching the course, I've actually shown one where Trump is shaking hands with people. And he has a way of pulling them toward him and not releasing it until he wants to release it. And Trudeau from Canada once was warned about that, so they had a contest, who was going to release it last. It was really hilarious to see. But there's a physical form of it. Think about restaurant menus. There is an art in creating a menu. And there are ways by which we're going to spend much more than we would otherwise simply because of the spacing, the color, how the type, the font, how the prices are given, all of those sorts of things. And there are consultants who are making a lot of money who advise in terms of that. I won't get into the details, but it really is fascinating how it is done. Think about also cars today. Everything we are doing in a modern car is being collected and sent to insurance companies, sent to car manufacturers, sent to advertisers, etc. We don't realize it, but years ago, quick story, I was on Nightline many, many years ago. And one of the comments I made was, there are more computers in the world than there are people if you count chips. That January, somebody came up to me and said, you just made the list in Parade magazine. I said, what list? The best and the worst of that year. And I was the worst one. So they said, we don't want to know we're outnumbered. Tremendous number of chips there. And cars, they could go and turn it off, but they won't, because it's to everyone's advantage who can gain financially. Not to our advantage if we believe in privacy, or if we want to speed, or other sorts of things. Sometimes manipulation is positive. I tend to see it as negative, but there are also very positive sorts of things. I call it self-manipulation. You want to lose weight, you want to stop smoking, you want to stop swearing, or here's one that I came across. There literally is a mirror that's been invented for cancer patients. And if they look in the mirror just without any expression, it won't show their face. If they smile, it shows their face. It's an incredible way of encouraging people to have a more positive view of themselves. And if any of you are interested, it is out there, it's being sold. Often, manipulation is necessary. So we think about impression management. You know, you have, 10 seconds to impress somebody, or you have to give the elevator speech and you have to do all these things. It's really necessary in order to be able to exist in many kinds of environments, and actually sometimes for friends, sometimes for spouses, and certainly for jobs. Job interviews, fascinating way by which there's a very subtle manipulation in terms of who's going to ask what questions, who's going to anticipate what questions are going to be asked. The one rule of thumb is never talk about, when you're asked, is this a salary sufficient? Don't respond. Look down, cough, wait in silence until they say, well, maybe we'll increase it a little more. Doesn't always work, but that's part of the strategy of how they're attempting to manipulate you, because you're going to say, they're going to ask you, what's a good salary for you? And if you answer, maybe high, maybe low, etc. Oftentimes, manipulation is invisible. So the architects who create plans for building prisons are also the architects who create plans for building campuses and university campuses. The same issue of how do you get a lot of people going in places in some controlled way. And the architecture is really very sophisticated. Years ago, there was a funding on the part of the federal government because they wanted to know, how do you limit vandalism in elevators? And so what they did is they created a situation where the elevators had glass walls so people could be seen. The amount of vandalism went down very, very dramatically. Or another example, cars and traffic, and I'll come back to that in a moment, and how we don't know we're always being manipulated in certain ways for safety purposes, but it's there. Gaslighting. The movie Gaslighting, and somebody basically getting somebody to think about themselves in ways that really wasn't true. Gaslighting is a common kind of a thing that occurs. But I want to talk about buying a used car. I have looked and shown in classes a number of training videos, training used car salespeople to anticipate and respond to any kind of a message that a potential customer can give. And so you'll come in and say, I have to think about it. They have an answer for it. I have to go home and get my spouse answer for it, et cetera. And some of it is really very sophisticated. And why? Because it is understanding what we have in terms of some biases, cognitive biases. They know how we think, and they know the impact of certain words and in certain order, et cetera. And it's basically a training area, a field that is very important, and constantly these used car salespeople are going under that. It's increasing because of technology. No surprise to any of you. But think about Google. We get Google products for free. I do. And I'm giving away a whole lot of things I'm giving away. But I don't think oftentimes that I'm being manipulated. I have a choice. I can choose it or not. The realities are that you buy into it very easily. It's a very attractive kind of an offer. And obviously they made billions off of it as a result of that willingness. But I'll give another example. Invisible and architectural. Dubai, a few years ago, created a multi-billion-dollar airport. And it's supposed to be beautiful, and of course a lot of people coming through there from all over the world. As you're going through one section, apparently there's like an aquarium, an upside-down aquarium. It's upside you. And people are walking and looking at all the fish and all the life that's existing beautiful. There are 40 cameras from different angles that are taking pictures of people's faces for facial recognition. No one realizes it. And again, it's for anti-terrorism purposes. It's a good purpose. But yet it is going on. And some people are very shocked when they find out about it. We also know in terms of technology, and I'll come to mass media in a moment, Alexa, everything we are saying, whether we want it or not, is being heard. But the one I want to talk about briefly is fake videos. There is a great amount of sophistication in creating videos that look real but are not. I remember seeing one a few years ago of President Obama saying something, and it was him saying something, but he never said it. It was so sophisticated that they were able to go and put the words in his mouth and have his lips move in ways that really seem perfect. And obviously you have the same thing with pictures. Pictures can be manipulated, and there's a lot of worry about it in terms of politics. How do you know that I'm, as a candidate, am being painted in an inappropriate way? But also it gets into some court issues. How do judges, how do juries make decisions in terms of that's fake and that's not? And what I've read, I assume it's true, now some of the fake pictures are so good that they cannot be looked at and understood as a fake. They are so good as if they're original. Raises a lot of questions for us. Okay. I will move on. There's some examples I want to give. Let me start with, we're going to get into examples here. So here is one, and hopefully, Nancy, we haven't gone over it, but just press the little button, which. Sorry? What would I do without her? This is Nancy Vega, by the way, who did this on purpose so I would introduce her.
Have a speaker issue.
If we can't get to it, that's okay.
No, it should. I don't know.
Okay, let's skip. That's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to show you is how do you end up saying you don't, was it working now? No. How do you say you no longer want to get that product? Netflix or whatever. And this video shows the steps you have to go through. It is almost impossible. And with Comcast, I understand the same thing, almost impossible. And you can go through all the steps. If you can ever find what to click, and it's buried within, somebody calls it dark patterns, which is the title here, and you get to the point where you're saying, okay, finally, I'm going to click, and it says, I no longer want this. And automatically you are connected to a person who says, are you sure we have a special offer today? It's almost impossible. But another reason I wanted to show you is, I've never seen this before. There is a company that has a certain screen. And if you go to the screen on your computer, you're going to notice there's a little bit of a spot on your computer screen. And so you wipe it off, you think it's dust. No, that's giving your fingerprints to them, and you're now being connected to part of them that you don't want. It's absolutely amazing. It's scary as anything, so don't wipe your computer, your monitor screens. Let's go on. Baseball. It's an apocryphal story, but somebody in one time wanted to go, and they love baseball. They wanted to go to a baseball game. So one day they come out of their house and their car is gone. And they're saying, oh no, I have to get to work. What's going to happen? Work was a horror that day. They had a fight with their spouse. They woke up the next day very groggy. They open the front door and there's their car with a note saying, dear sir or madam, I'm sorry for having taken your car yesterday, but I had a medical emergency. To show you I'm not such a bad person, here are 2 tickets to this Sunday's Red Sox game. Person says, wow, what a great thing. Went to the game, miracle of miracles, the Red Sox won. They came home and, anyone guess? House wiped out. Somebody had created an opportunity for crime. They got manipulated. And again, I think it's an apocryphal story, but I'm not sure, because it could well happen. If any of you are missing cars, by the way, I didn't take them. Okay. So here, go to Google Pizza, and I want to read you something here. Hello, Gordon's Pizza? No, sir, it's Google Pizza. So it's a wrong number? Sorry. No, sir, Google bought it. Okay, take my order, please. Well, sir, you want the usual? Usual? The usual? You know the usual? You know me? Yes, according to our caller ID data sheet, in the last 12 times, you've ordered pizza with cheeses, sausage, and thick crust. Okay, this is it. Sir, may I suggest to you that this time ricotta, arugula with dried tomatoes would be a good addition. What? I hate vegetables. Sir, your cholesterol is not good. How do you know? We crossed the numbers of your fixed line with your name through the subscription guide, and we had the results of your last 7 blood tests for the last 7 years. Okay. I do not want that pizza. I already take medicine. Sir, excuse me. But you have not taken the medicine regularly because in the last 4 months, you only purchased the box with 30 cholesterol tablets at Drugstore Network. I bought more from another drugstore. It's not showing on your credit statement, but I paid in cash. But you did not withdraw that much money according to our bank review. I have other sources of cash, sir. This is not showing up on your tax form. unless you bought them with undeclared income sources. What the hell? I'm sorry, sir. We use such information only with the intention of helping you. Enough. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of Google, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. I'm going to an island without internet, cable TV, where there's no cell phone line and no one to watch me or spy on me. Sir, I understand that, but you need to renew your passport. It expired 5 weeks ago. Not true, but it could well be. And by the way, Google has created a voice app that is very sophisticated and basically can order your pizza for you. And also on the other end, they're taking orders as if they're a pizza parlor. Just pretty incredible stuff. Okay. Professional mourners. I have an advertisement from somebody who says, I am willing to come for hire to a funeral for any of family member, and if you want, I'll simply appear there, X number of dollars. If you want, I'll start looking very sad, X more dollars, and so on. And the last offer is, I'll jump into the grave. It's impression management. It's similar to what some restaurants have to do now. If there's a long line outside a restaurant, you think, oh, food must be good. Well, many of those people are for hire. They're giving you the impression that it's a great place and you better get in line yourself very, very soon. Urinals. Okay. Why do I have urinals here? This is an actual case. Men are messy. I know the women are shocked by that kind of a statement. One of the problems with men is that when they go to urinals, they often are not very careful. And so organizations have a large amount of money they have to spend in cleaning up the urinals. So that's the problem. What's the solution? Putting little things like targets in the urinal, and men aim for it, and they've actually done that, and the amount of spillage has gone way down. I know I'm sorry for bringing that thing up. Traffic calming. That's the nice word that's used in basically ways by which cars are slowed down. Very sophisticated kinds of things going on, where if you have to go to a traffic circle, some of them are now being placed purposefully there, though it's not necessary for them. The bumps that we have here on the road in, by the way, you can't see the bumps because the paint is very dark at this point, and so some cars are going over and should be fixed. All those kinds of things are ways of trying to create situations for less accidents. And traffic engineers do this, and they are very successful in terms of stopping cars and slowing down cars. Also, just a simple thing like having a police car, a trooper car, staying on the side of the road as we're going on Mass Pike. We slow down. Well, there may not be anyone in there. Doesn't matter. That's a way of calming the traffic. MGH had a problem it wanted to deal with. Employees were going to the vending machine and not eating really the best food for them, nutrition-wise. So how do you go and encourage them to have healthier food? In the vending machines, if you push something for a candy bar, it takes a long, long time to come. But if you push something that's like a fresh yogurt, boom, it's right there. And they've spaced it in such a way and manipulated the vending machine so it is reinforcing the idea you'll get a quicker meal if you go and buy something that's really worthwhile. I look at this and it sums up in some ways my hopes of the world, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. A couple of other examples, and then I'll open it up for further questions. There was a situation in an apartment building where people kept complaining that the elevator is taking forever to come to them. And they're saying, this should be taken care of. So the building people said, okay, well, let's see what we can do. They went to the elevator people and said, you need to speed it up. The elevator people said, no, that's not the problem. We have a solution. They put up mirrors on both sides of the elevator, and soon people are saying to the building management, they're so speedy. I'm really impressed. You've done wonderful things. Why? Because they're looking, they're checking themselves out. It was successful in that particular regard. Then here's one other I want to give you, and this is ads for real estate. So this is a translation. The quiet, charming one-bedroom is actually a dark, rundown alcove studio. Bring your architect is the complete opposite of bring your toothbrush. It's what we call a two-person view. So they give other examples. Let's see. We're left with phrases like cozy, which according to somebody who's an expert on it, means the apartment is so small you can't even bring big thoughts. I like that one. The photos are often as coded as the language. So a listing with no bathroom, assume it needs a new one, or it's so small you don't get a proper one, proper picture. No shots of windows, you're looking at walls, no windows. A gem, sweet, adorable, quaint. It means that you're going to have to go and get an architect to come in, or it talks about the view, which says there is no view. You're looking at a building next to you. A jewel box. This is an apartment, might be teeny tiny, but might be nicely, it's like you have a little box. A penthouse view, it's not usually that way. It's sharing the floor with other apartments and has a nice ring to it, etc. 3 flights up, do the math, it's 4-floor walk up. I saw one ad that said 5 minutes from the beach, and it was stairs, you could see the beach straight down, you'd have to walk straight down. And then somebody wrote something, graffiti, and said, but it's 8 seconds if you slip. All right, I've given you a number of examples. You have a sense, I'm sure, that this is something that's worth looking at. Give me some of your thoughts, questions, comments. Yes, please. Sorry, she's going to come around. How can we beat it? Is that your question?
How are we being manipulated here?
Absolutely. How do you think I got all these people here? I paid them. Yeah. You would not know it, though, because I'm very sophisticated when it comes to that. Anyone else?
It was the photo with your grandchild. It got them all in.
I like that picture, yes. By the way, at the age of 81, I finally have a grandchild, 10 months
Mazel
old.
tov.
So. And I didn't manipulate it. I had nothing to do with that one.
When we were in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon, a few years back, my husband was noticing how the traffic was traveling so slowly. Everybody was staying within the speed limit. And our son, who was a roadway design engineer, said, of course, the lanes are much narrower. They're only 8 feet wide as opposed to 10 feet. And cars will go more slowly.
Ha! I had never heard that one. Thank you. Traffic calming of a different sort. Yeah. Anyone else? Sure.
That only works in an area where they've rebuilt the roads. If you're looking in New England or in old cities where the streets are always narrow, it does not slow the traffic.
Correct. It doesn't, but you'll find construction sometimes where they're putting in curves. Just as a one way of doing that. Okay, and somebody there, here. Here she comes.
two things. The grocery stores are masters at that.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Grocery stores are masters at manipulation because they put the products that they want you to buy right up in front and they rotate it.
Yeah.
The other thing is those roundabouts or whatever they call, those slow traffic down immensely because people don't know how to use them.
Right, right.
And yet they're supposed to be safer.
Right. So in terms of stores, there is a science in terms of location. And it's no surprise, I'm sure there's no surprise to you, you have to go through a whole lot of things to get to the milk in the back. It's all planned out. Things that are at eye view, for short people that becomes a problem, by the way. All those are very carefully carried out. Yes, Michael?
So Sandy, that was really a good talk, and
Thanks.
I appreciate it. So as a physician, I think I've used all four of those: coercion, influence, manipulation, persuasion. Could you elaborate on the other three in terms of the differences? You labeled intent. I intended to do it all. You know, I wanted the patient to listen, and I did everything I could.
If I could hold on, I'm just watching the time. So if we can have a off. Okay, we'll have a session later. I'd be happy to talk with you, Michael. And there.
Thanks, Andy. Would you spend a little time and talk about the use of television or radio to create biases, to change elections, to do all of the kinds of things, aside from the things that you discussed, that there's major issues in how, as a society, with the help of, and I'm not sure if it's the help of the media, what have you, that we as a society are able, based upon being barraged by certain things, to change our way of thinking.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I need to add any more than your statement, which is right on. We know it's happening, and there are millions of dollars that are being contributed to marketeers and advertising people to create the perfect thing. Focus groups are going on, all those kinds of things. The mass media, social media, clearly play an important role, and often a very negative role.
Well, so you know that. So what is our defense? What is our defense as a society to prevent demagogues from doing this kind of thing? What can we do?
The bad news is not a lot. We have to pay attention. We have to try to stop things from happening. We have to go and vote, all those things. Not very satisfying answers. There is some people are trying to get, so Nancy has an environmental group here. And one of the things that we're looking at is a situation where people are recognized as being supportive of environmental issues, but don't vote. And through very sophisticated computer analyses, their names and their contacts can be created. And so this one organization is going and trying to inform them, very directly targeting in that way. But it doesn't, what you're saying, I think to a large degree, the whole idea of what is truth and what is trust is gone. And I have no brilliant answers, even unbrilliant answers. Anyone else? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it.